la maladie a commencé il y a quelques années, il y avait une petite boule qui est sortie vers ma hanche. Et lorsque je marche, ça me fait super mal. C'est là qu'on allait voir les docteurs d'hôpital de référence. On m'a fait une intervention là-bas. Malheureusement, il n'y avait pas de prothèse qui convenait à ma hanche. C'est là les docteurs d'hôpital de référence, ils ont décidé de m'évacuer ici. Et c'est là les médecins de l'hôpital de référence, ils ont décidé de m'évacuer pour venir à l'Inde. Et arrivé à l'aéroport, c'est Mudit qui allait m'accueillir. Vraiment, lorsque je suis venue ici, j'ai trouvé l'Inde. Vraiment, c'est trop cool. Le pays est vraiment merveilleux.
22-year-old young girl who presented to us with a complex set of problems. Essentially, she is a lady who was suffering from sickle cell disease, which caused avascular necrosis of her hip joint. This required a total hip replacement. Unfortunately for her, she had a failed attempt at total hip replacement back home in her home country. How a typical hip joint looks like, and try to explain the slight variation that we see in patients with sickle cell disease. Now, if we look here, this essentially is the ball and this is the socket. In avascular necrosis of the hip, the ball gets deformed and starts rubbing against the socket. However, patients with sickle cell disease in particular may have a very narrow femoral canal. A normal femoral component is typically broad in the top part and tends to taper down distally. Now, if we try to use an implant of this shape in a patient with an altered anatomy, this kind of an implant typically does not fit. And if this kind of an implant is forced into a femoral, into an abnormal femur, it may tend to split the femur or break the femur. Unfortunately, this is what happened in Idrissa's case. As we can see on the image on the right, as the surgeon made an attempt to insert a broad femoral component into a narrow pencil-thin canal, the femur got split and a fracture of the femur happened. Once the femur fractured, the surgeon had no option but to abandon the surgery. This left the poor girl without a ball and socket joint, making her condition actually much worse than what she was when she went for the initial surgery. Now, when she arrived to us, we had multiple challenges. The first major challenge being that she was a case of sickle cell disease, which is a medical complication in itself. And secondly, a complex procedure where we had to not only get a hip replacement done for her, but also fix the fractured fragment. Unfortunately, when we look at the available implants, there are implants available that can help deal with a narrow canal in general, but there are no such implants available that can bypass the fracture or that are long enough to bypass the fractured fragments. So we had to somehow fix the femur and give her a stable joint with which she would be able to get back on her feet again. The risks and possible complications were outlined. The surgery went uneventful, everything went as per plan. This is the socket, there's no ball within the socket. This is the femur or the thigh bone, and we can see that the thigh bone or the femur is broken with a crack here. After the surgery, if we look at the image on the right, we've put in a new socket with a new ball within, and we've put in a special femoral component that has a pencil tip stem which matches the anatomy of the patient. The fracture which was here was fixed with the help of 3 cable grips so that it does not allow the femur to split open. After the surgery, the patient did extremely well. She was up and about on her feet right from the first day, initially with the help of a walker, and then progressively moving from a walker to a stick to hand support, and then finally she's able to walk like she used to walk before.
Avant l'opération, bon, je me sentais à chaque moment malade. À chaque moment, lorsque je marche, j'ai des douleurs super puissantes. Mais depuis l'intervention, vocal hospital, vraiment je les remercie énormément, surtout Dr Mudit Khanna. Vraiment c'est un grand docteur. et il est vraiment efficace. Il sait son travail. Grâce à lui et grâce à Dieu, je peux marcher correctement maintenant. Et surtout, je n'oublie pas de remercier Mudit.